Have you ever met someone and just felt drawn to them? They have this magnetic energy, this charisma that's hard to pin down. Well, what if I told you it's not magic? It's psychology. And today, we're going to dive into the science of what makes someone completely and utterly irresistible. Right off the bat, let's just tear down one of the biggest myths out there. You always hear it, right? That charisma is something you're just born with. You either have it or you don't. But you know what? That's a total lie. See, the real source of this power isn't about luck or genetics. It's all psychology. Being irresistible isn't about trying harder or being louder. Nope. It's about understanding how the human mind actually works and then using these small, totally learnable cues that create a huge emotional response in other people. So, if it's not about being the loudest, most outgoing person in the room, what is it? Well, true magnetic energy is actually much quieter. It's way more controlled. It's all about understanding the mind, which brings us to our very first pillar. Let's dig into that first pillar, the power of stillness. This whole idea is that quiet, deliberate self-control can actually grab way more attention than shouting ever could. And that brings us to this amazing concept called powerful silence. You know that feeling, that urge to fill every single gap in a conversation? Most of us have it. But people with that real magnetic energy, they get that silence is a tool. By just leaning into the pauses, they make their presence feel more grounded, and every word they say suddenly carries more weight. Seriously, it can be this simple. Just 1 second. That tiny little pause before you speak, it does something absolutely incredible to the other person's brain. It builds up this tension, this anticipation, and it literally activates the brain's dopamine reward system. People get a tiny jolt of pleasure just from waiting for you to speak, which makes them lean in and listen so much closer. And this all comes down to the power of emotional contrast. I mean, picture a room where everyone's on edge, reacting to every little thing. The one person who stays calm, who stays emotionally steady, they automatically stand out. That stable energy just screams control, and it earns them instant respect. All right, so once you've got that inner stillness down, we can move on to the second pillar, the art of connection. This is all about building rapport with people, often in ways that are totally subconscious, flying right under the radar of normal conversation. Okay, get ready for a really cool concept from psychology. It's called limbic resonance. It's basically when the emotional centers of two people's brains start to mirror each other. It's that amazing feeling of being totally in sync with someone. And the best part? You can actually learn how to trigger it. So check this out. It can be this simple. Someone says to you, "I've been feeling drained lately." Instead of jumping in with advice, you just echo back the key emotional word they used. Just say, "drained." That's it. It instantly validates how they feel and makes them want to open up more, creating this invisible emotional bond. They feel like you actually get it. Now for a really weird one that totally works, the Ben Franklin effect. We all think that if we do favors for people, they'll like us more. But the psychology shows the opposite is often true. When someone does a small favor for you, their brain has to justify it. It tells itself, hey, I must actually like this person to be helping them. You're literally letting them invest in you. And you can build on that idea. See, as humans, we have this deep, deep need to be consistent with our past actions. So you can start with a tiny request, something super easy to say yes to, like just asking for an opinion. Once they've given you that small yes, their brain feels this internal pressure to stay consistent, making them way more likely to agree to something a little bigger later on. It just deepens their investment in you and the conversation. Okay, so you've got the stillness, you've got the connection. Now it's time for our third and final pillar, the science of value. This is where we start using some of the brain's natural cognitive biases to make our time and attention feel way more desirable. Think about it like an 80-20 rule for your attention. Giving someone 100% of your focus all the time can actually make them take it for granted. But by holding back just a little bit, say 20%, you trigger a super powerful psychological principle called intermittent reinforcement. It is the exact same mechanism that makes social media and slot machines so addictive. That unpredictable reward makes you crave it so much more. This plugs directly into one of our most basic human biases, scarcity. Our brains are just hardwired to put a higher value on things that are rare or hard to get. So when your time and your attention aren't always a given, their perceived value just skyrockets. And here's what that looks like in the real world.
Saying something vague like, I can hang out next week, makes your time seem abundant, low value. But if you frame it as a specific limited window like, I can block out just 30 minutes on Tuesday, it immediately triggers their fear of missing out, their FOMO. The thought of losing that one specific slot makes them value it way more.
So here's the ultimate question, right? How do you stay in someone's head long after you've actually left the room? Well, the secret lies in something called the ironic processing loop. You see, the brain can't process a negative command, like don't think of a white bear, without first thinking of the white bear. So by giving a playful little command like this one, try not to laugh when you remember that silly thing I just said, you basically guarantee they're going to keep thinking about you and that moment for hours. Okay, so let's bring this all home. The final truth here, the big takeaway is that real, lasting irresistibility isn't built on just trying really hard or fighting to be the center of attention. Instead, it's built on the three pillars we've been talking about. First, mastering your own inner state through the power of stillness. Second, building that deep subconscious rapport through the art of connection. And third, creating that perceived worth through the science of value. What all these techniques really create is something called psychological tension. It's that pull between what's known and what's held back. It's the appeal of someone who is calm, who is in control, and who is just a little bit unpredictable. That's the stuff that truly pulls people in. And in the end, this isn't about learning a bunch of tricks to get people to like you. It's about understanding human psychology so deeply that you never have to chase attention ever again. Because when you really understand how the mind works, attention chases you.